Y'all ain't gonna believe what just dropped in the world of politics and social media. Candace Owens, yes, the Candace Owens, finally broke her silence on the Erica Kirk and TPUSA situation. And let me tell you, it's not what everyone's been saying. You've seen the tweets. You've seen the clips. The drama's been blowing up for weeks. Allegations, rumors, side-eye posts, subtle digs in interviews. Everyone thought they knew the story. Everyone thought they had it figured out. But nah. Candace just opened the door, and what she said? It's got people shook. Let me tell you what really went down. Sources close to TPUSA say the tension had been simmering long before the internet even caught wind. Erica Kirk's decisions, her public statements, the way she moved within the organization, all of it added layers nobody online fully understood. And then the leaks happened. Tweets, screenshots, whispers behind the scenes. Suddenly the drama was everywhere. And now Candace? She's stepping in, clarifying, confronting, but in her own way. Calm, calculated, and yeah, maybe a little deadly when you read between the lines. She's telling the world there's context, there's history, and there's a narrative the public hasn't seen. A story that goes way deeper than social media threads and hot takes. Y'all seen this play out before. One post can ignite a storm, one interview can shift the narrative, and one person speaking the truth can flip the entire script. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see the Erica Kirk TPUSA drama isn't just gossip. It's a lesson in power, loyalty, and how narratives get controlled in ways nobody talks about publicly. And trust me, it's way deeper than it looks. Y'all, let me set the scene. This isn't your usual Twitter beef or a clickbait headline. This is politics, influence, and power colliding behind the polished social media feeds. And at the center? Candace Owens and Erica Kirk. And TPUSA, an organization that's been building clout for years, but apparently even powerhouses have their fractures. It all started quietly. Erica Kirk had been making moves, climbing within TPUSA, building her network, flexing influence in ways some insiders say rubbed people the wrong way. Not openly, not with confrontation, but in that subtle, almost invisible way that power moves, changing agendas, redirecting projects, shifting loyalties. The kind of stuff that doesn't make headlines, but definitely gets noted in boardrooms and group chats. Sources told me the tension simmered for months. It was all under the radar, one insider said, but everyone knew something was up. Erica had ideas, she was vocal, she was ambitious, and not everybody liked the way she moved. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Candace Owens, sharp, strategic, always 3 steps ahead, noticed it. She didn't react immediately. That's not her style. But she observed, she calculated, and she waited. Because in spaces like TPUSA, influence isn't just about who talks the loudest. It's about perception, control, and timing. And let me tell you, timing in these scenarios, it's everything. Then came the leaks. Tweets, screenshots, stories from former employees. Suddenly, what was private became public. Erica Kirk was at the center of controversy, people speculating on motives, alliances, and power plays. But Candace? She stayed quiet, calm, observing, like a chess player watching the board, waiting for the right move to expose truth without losing leverage. Here's the kicker. People online started interpreting silence as weakness. "Why ain't Candace saying anything?" they asked. She should defend the organization. But those in the know? They understood the strategy. Silence doesn't mean absence. It means preparation. And Candace Owens doesn't operate impulsively. She calculates every angle, every statement, every public appearance. And then the moment came. Erica made a statement. Public, polished, defensive, but with little cracks that only people paying attention could see. Fans, TPUSA followers, journalists, they jumped on it. Headlines called it drama, inside politics exposed, and social media ran wild. But Candace? She watched. She waited. And then, finally, she decided it was time to speak. But here's what people don't understand. What Candace was about to say wasn't just a rebuttal or clarification. It was a narrative shift, It wasn't about Erica Kirk versus TPUSA. It was about context, history, and a lesson in influence that very few were ready to hear. This moment, y'all, is where everything changes. Because when Candace speaks, she doesn't just answer questions, she reframes the conversation. She flips assumptions. She forces people to see things the way insiders have always seen them, nuanced, layered, and full of strategy. And for TPUSA, that means power, reputation, and legacy all hang in the balance. So stick close, because what comes next isn't headlines or tweets. It's strategy, loyalty, and influence played at the highest level. And trust me, it's way deeper than it looks. Y'all, this is where the story really starts to twist. What was simmering quietly behind TPUSA's doors now spilled into the public eye, not with a bang, but with a series of subtle shocks that got everyone talking. And trust me, the tension, it was real. It began with leaked internal messages. Screenshots started circulating, small, seemingly innocuous texts. But when you read between the lines, they told a story of miscommunication, clashing visions, and ego. One insider said Erica had written, "We need to pivot. People aren't paying attention to the real strategy." On the surface, that's business. But others read it as a subtle dig at leadership, a signal that she thought the organization was moving slow, or worse, that she thought she could do better. The leaks didn't stop there. A video surfaced of a private meeting, half a dozen voices discussing funding priorities, messaging tactics, and event schedules. Erica's tone was firm, authoritative, maybe even a little sharp. Someone in the room whispered, "You said what?" "I told you about my respect." And Erica? Calm, precise. "Nah, this ain't over, bro," she shot back. That line? It went viral when reposted online, not for humor, but because it exposed the raw tension lurking behind the polished TPUSA image. Meanwhile, Candace was in the shadows. She didn't blast social media, didn't send out statements. Instead, she observed, she understood that visibility is power, and that responding too soon could give more fuel to the narrative than she wanted. Her team reportedly reviewed every post, every clip, every comment. They traced patterns, checked sources, and waited for the opportune moment to intervene. And that moment? It was coming. The emotional stakes were high. People forget politics is personal. Loyalty is tested. Family, both literal and figurative, is on the line. Erica wasn't just clashing with leadership. She was testing boundaries, trying to carve a space for herself while the organization's reputation hung in the balance. And every move she made reverberated across social media, where fans, critics, and influencers dissected every gesture, tone, and post. Then came the public arguments. Small posts, subtle digs in interviews, and online jabs that were more psychological than explicit. One clip shows Erica saying, "I'm just trying to do the right thing here. Why's everyone acting like I'm the enemy?" And Candace? Her response came weeks later in a calm, controlled statement, measured, deliberate, and calculated. She acknowledged the tension but reframed it, not as a feud, not as a personal attack, but as a learning moment for the organization and its followers. And here's what people don't fully grasp. These moments aren't just drama for the internet. They are lessons in strategy, influence, and control. Candace understands that public perception is a weapon. A single misstep can escalate, and in a world where screenshots last forever, silence can be louder than any post. Erica's boldness tested boundaries. Candace's restraint commanded attention. Together, the tension created a narrative that felt explosive but was carefully orchestrated. Let me be real with you. Watching this unfold was like watching a high-stakes chess game in real time. Every post, every clip, every comment mattered. The power moves weren't just about authority. They were about legacy, control, and influence. TPUSA wasn't just managing an organization. They were managing a story, a perception, and the future of their public image. By the time Candace finally spoke directly, the stage was set. Social media had amplified Erica's moves, dissected leadership responses, and polarized opinions. But Candace didn't play into the drama. Instead, she reframed it, turning the moment into a lesson on accountability, communication, and influence. And just like that, what looked like a feud became a case study in leadership under pressure. The bigger picture? This isn't just politics or social media. It's human behavior. Ego, loyalty, ambition, and strategy all collided in a space where every move is public. Erica Kirk made her statements, and Candace Owens responded. But the real story is about how influence is exercised, how authority is respected or challenged, and how perception is controlled in the age of virality. So when people tweet about TPUSA drama or Candace Owens versus Erica Kirk, they miss the real lesson. It's not about who won or lost. It's about observing power, understanding strategy, and recognizing that sometimes silence is louder than any post. Sometimes waiting, watching, and choosing the right moment to speak is the ultimate move. And choosing the right moment to speak is the ultimate move. And let me tell you something else. The streets of social media don't forgive mistakes. One clip, one misinterpreted text, one careless post, that can shift narratives overnight. And Candace knew that. Erica's bold moves, they tested boundaries and provoked responses. And through it all, Candace maintained control, not by being louder, but by being smarter. By the end of this chapter, the story isn't just about conflict. It's about clarity, strategy, and respect, and how those who understand influence operate differently than the rest of us. Candace Owens didn't just respond. She demonstrated leadership under scrutiny, control in chaos, and the power of timing. And Erica Kirk? She exposed vulnerabilities, sparked conversation, and reminded everyone that ambition comes with consequences. And here's the kicker. This story is far from over. Every post, every interview, every social media thread continues to feed into the narrative. The lessons in loyalty, influence, and perception will keep unfolding. And as long as people are watching, analyzing, and reacting, the stakes remain high. So stick with me, because next, we dive into the turning point, the moment where public opinion shifts. Social media explodes, and Candace finally makes the statement that changes the game. That's coming up in part 3, Why All? This is the moment where the whole story changes. The leaks, the whispers, the side-eye posts, all of that set the stage. But when Candace Owens finally decided to speak, the internet stopped, literally. Social media paused for a second. Like everyone collectively realized they weren't just watching drama, they were watching strategy unfold. Candace's statement dropped on a Thursday afternoon. Not early morning, not late night, she chose the perfect window. Every word was deliberate, measured, precise. She acknowledged the tension surrounding Erica Kirk, addressed the concerns circulating online, and reframed the story in a way that only someone who truly understands influence could. Here's the essence of what she said. Straight from sources. Every organization will face challenges, and it's how we handle them that defines us. Misunderstandings happen, ideas clash, and ambition tests boundaries. But our commitment to principles, integrity, and leadership remains unshaken. Erica's passion is acknowledged, and lessons will be learned, publicly and privately. Notice how she didn't vilify. She didn't call anyone out. She reframed. That's Candace Owens. That's why people follow her. That's why her silence before this moment was louder than any tweet Erica or anyone else posted. And the response? Instant. The clip circulated on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Reactions flooded in. Some fans were relieved, some confused, some straight up shocked. The fan bases clashed, but the tone had shifted. Candace wasn't in attack mode. She wasn't defending ego. She was asserting control over the narrative. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the TPUSA team reportedly breathed a sigh of relief. Sources say there was tension even among staff, debates about public perception, internal trust, and what this meant for the organization. And the truth is, this moment wasn't just about Erica Kirk or Candace Owens, it was about leadership under pressure. About handling conflict when everyone is watching and every mistake is amplified online. Now let's talk about Erica. She posted a response later, calm, reflective, almost conciliatory. I respect the guidance and clarity provided. My passion for the mission hasn't changed, and I understand now the importance of perspective and timing. Short, precise, and strategic. People online criticized her tone, called it robotic, said it lacked fire. But insiders? They said it was brilliant. She didn't escalate. She acknowledged. She positioned herself as a team player without losing identity. Here's what most people don't see. Every statement, every post, every interaction in this saga is a chess move. Ego, ambition, and loyalty collide in ways that casual observers never catch. Candace's calm, Erica's measured acknowledgement. These are moves designed to test perception, manage influence, and maintain reputation. And the psychological layer? Fans often miss this. People want to frame conflict as drama, as good guy versus bad guy. But this isn't that simple. It's about emotional intelligence, self-control, and understanding human behavior. Candace understood that public reaction could spiral out of control if she responded impulsively. Erica understood that acknowledgement and timing were critical. There were also private conversations leaked to a few reporters, texts between Candace and key team members discussing next steps. Keep calm. Observe the threads. People will overreact, but we control what's framed as truth, one message read. That right there? That's strategy at a level most people don't see. That's leadership in action. The moment shifted public perception. Suddenly, Candace wasn't just a political figure, she was a case study in crisis management. Erica wasn't just an ambitious insider. She became a figure of calculated growth within a high-stakes environment. The tension between them didn't disappear, but it evolved into a lesson. Power is exercised not in noise, but in precision. And here's the kicker. The media jumped in. Podcasts, YouTube channels, Twitter threads. Everyone dissected tone, timing, word choice. But Candace Owens controlled the narrative so effectively that speculation fueled her authority rather than undermining it. Every misinterpretation became a reinforcement of her strategic restraint. Fan reactions were wild. Some said, "Candace is too calm. She should have dragged Erica." Others countered, "Finally, someone thinking 3 steps ahead, not just reacting." And that's the dichotomy here. Perception versus reality. Candace knew reality mattered more than clicks. Erica knew visibility mattered more than ego. The internet? It was just watching a masterclass unfold. Even within TPUSA, this moment sparked internal reflection. Staff reportedly said, "We learned more from Candace's statement than we did from any meeting in the last year." And that's real talk. Leadership isn't always about loud proclamations. Sometimes it's about restraint, framing, and timing. And Candace Owens just schooled the entire organization in that art. But let's be honest, drama is never fully over. Social media thrives on conflict, and any misstep now could reignite chatter. Both Candace and Erica know that. They've set a tone, demonstrated strategy, and positioned themselves as controlled, professional, and in command. That's why insiders say this saga will be studied for years as a lesson in crisis management, loyalty, and influence. And here's what people don't fully grasp. The turning point wasn't just her statement. It was the sequence, the observation, the strategy, the timing, the acknowledgement, and the control of perception. That combination flipped the narrative from chaos to calculated authority. And that, my friends, is a lesson anyone can take into business, politics, or life. So as this part closes, understand this. The drama online is just the surface. Underneath is a masterclass in leadership, influence, and psychological strategy. Candace Owens didn't just respond. She demonstrated why timing, observation, and emotional intelligence matter more than ego or noise. Erica Kirk didn't just post a statement. She showed that acknowledgement, timing, and positioning are power moves in their own right. And just like that, what looked like public chaos became a controlled demonstration of authority, influence, and strategy. A moment that flipped the story and left fans and critics alike reconsidering what real leadership looks like. Y'all, after the statement dropped, after Erica's measured response, the landscape shifted. but not in ways most people online expected. Social media chatter continued, sure. Clips got reposted, threads got debated, and memes popped off. But beneath the noise, the real story was playing out behind closed doors, in boardrooms, group chats, and strategic meetings. PUSA staff insiders said the mood was tense, but productive. "It forced us to confront how we handle internal conflict," one source told me. "We realized that perception matters as much as reality. One post can destroy months of work, or one statement can reframe the narrative entirely." And that, y'all, is exactly what happened. Candace's calm, calculated response shifted the perception of the organization from chaotic to disciplined, from reactionary to strategic. Fans and critics alike started dissecting every interaction, trying to figure out who won the drama. But here's the truth. Nobody won in the traditional sense. Candace maintained authority and credibility. Erica preserved dignity and influence. TPUSA navigated a storm without losing structural integrity. That's not a win-loss scenario. That's leadership under pressure. Then came the long-term ripple effects. Erica Kirk reportedly gained respect from colleagues who previously questioned her ambition. Candace's influence within the organization was reinforced. She wasn't just a public figure. She was a strategist who understood timing, loyalty, and control of narrative. And the public? They were learning a lesson in patience, observation, and measured responses, even if they didn't realize it at first. Now, the emotional layer is key. Loyalty got tested, ego was challenged, and ambition had to be balanced with respect for hierarchy. Erica's actions pushed boundaries, but they also prompted reflection. How far can you go before perception catches up with intent? And Candace's handling demonstrated a principle that's simple, but often ignored. Power isn't about who yells the loudest. It's about who moves with strategy, clarity, and patience. Strategy, clarity, and patience. And let's talk numbers, because in politics and social influence, metrics matter. Engagement on social media exploded after Candace spoke. Views skyrocketed, but so did positive mentions framing her as composed, intelligent, and strategic. Erica's response, while smaller in reach, generated respect among insiders and peers. Together, their actions created a dual narrative, one for the public and one for those in the know. Dialogues leaked in the aftermath reveal the subtleties behind these moves. "You really watched everything before you said a word, huh?" a colleague asked Candace. "Of course. People overreact when they don't have the context," she replied. And Erica? She knew what she was doing too. Respect is about recognizing skill when you see it, even if it challenges you. This moment also revealed something deeper, the psychological dynamics at play. Humans naturally respond to perceived slights with reaction, but leadership requires pause. Candace's approach turned potential chaos into a learning moment, showing that emotional intelligence can outweigh immediate gratification. Erica's acknowledgement demonstrated that ambition doesn't have to undermine relationships when handled strategically. Public perception continued to evolve. Fans who initially criticized both parties started to see the story differently. Some praised Candace for restraint, some admired Erica for poise, and a few even admitted they misunderstood the layers of strategy at play. And that's the moral of this saga. The surface narrative is rarely the full story. If you want to understand power, loyalty, and influence, you need to read between the lines. And the lesson for leadership? It's multi-layered. Influence isn't just about authority or fame. It's about timing, control of perception, and understanding human behavior. Loyalty isn't blind obedience. It's mutual respect and recognition of skill. Ego isn't suppression. It's strategic management. Ambition isn't reckless. It's calculated growth within a system of checks, balances, and relationships. Some people online missed this entirely. They framed it as drama or feud and moved on. But insiders, staff, and observers saw the real takeaway. How leaders navigate challenges defines their longevity and impact. Candace and Erica both showed that success in high-stakes environments comes from awareness, patience, and clarity of purpose. Even now, months later, the echoes of this moment persist. Candace's followers cite it as an example of leadership under scrutiny. Erica's peers reference it when discussing professional poise and measured ambition. And TPUSA itself uses it as a case study in crisis management, internal communication, and perception control. And here's the final reflection. The symbolic layer. Power is often misinterpreted as volume or aggression. But true authority? It's quiet, deliberate, and patient. Candace Owens didn't need to escalate. Erica Kirk didn't need to overreact. Together, their story became a lesson in restraint, strategy, and respect, a blueprint for anyone navigating influence, politics, or organizations under pressure. So, as we wrap this chapter, understand this. The drama online was only the surface. Beneath it was a lesson in loyalty, ego, power, and timing. And that's what makes this story resonate. Because it's not just about TPUSA or Candace or Erica. It's about anyone trying to lead, influence, or survive in spaces where perception and reality collide. And trust me, this story is far from over. The moves, the lessons, the strategies, they'll echo for a long time. But for now, this chapter ends with reflection, clarity, and a reminder. Influence isn't loud. It's strategic. Loyalty isn't blind. It's earned. And power isn't given. It's demonstrated in silence, patience, and precision. Y'all, here's what this saga really teaches us. It's not just a story about politics, personalities, or social media drama. It's about leadership, loyalty, and strategy. Candace Owens showed us the power of restraint, the weight of timing, and the skill of turning potential chaos into controlled authority. Erica Kirk reminded us that ambition, when paired with poise and awareness, can coexist with respect for hierarchy and influence. In a world where everyone feels the need to react first, speak loudest, or post fastest, these moves were a masterclass in emotional intelligence. Power isn't in the volume of your voice. It's in the precision of your actions. Loyalty isn't about blind obedience. It's about mutual respect and trust. And perception? It's as real as reality itself. And sometimes, managing it is the difference between a fleeting moment and lasting influence. This story also shows the human side of public influence. Ego gets tested, ambition clashes with authority. And in the middle of all that, real lessons emerge for anyone trying to lead, navigate pressure, or survive in spaces where every action is observed, recorded, and judged. So, here's the question for y'all. What do you think about how this situation unfolded? Did Candace handle it right with patience and strategy? Or was there a moment she could have done more? And Erica, did her ambition cross a line? Or did she show what it really means to balance respect with drive? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going. And make sure you subscribe, because stories like this, they're far from over. Influence, loyalty, and power are always in play. And the next chapter could change everything we think we know about leadership in the public eye. Remember, sometimes the loudest voices aren't the most powerful, and the sharpest moves are the ones nobody sees coming. Y'all just witnessed one of those moves in action.